you're the bad guy. You're the crazy one. You're the one that's outlandish, twisting the words. All of these things are going on when someone is trying to make you the bad guy. They're trying to spin this into a smear campaign. Your key here is do not engage. And let me talk to you about why. Let's jump into that right now. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori. Damn, am I excited to be here like I am every week. I try to be a little bit ahead. So by the time you hear this, I'll have already been back for a few weeks. But I did go to Sleepy Hollow, New York. Oh my gosh, I highly recommend it. I got to see the horseman, the headless horseman ride. And it's not like it was just Gitchy and he rolled down the street. It was through this smoke and this fog. I mean, it was such a cute town. We did a cemetery tour. I went with a good girlfriend of mine. We had great food. I highly recommend it, even if it's just for a long weekend. But it was really, really fun. And I'm excited to have gone. So I thought that I would share that with you, so you can put that on your bucket list. I'm hoping that by now the 5 journals are out. They are extremely transformational. They are on my website. That's also where you can book sessions with me. And the link is directly in the show notes or the description, wherever you're getting this. But it is the same as the podcast, thepositivityexperience.com. And I highly encourage you becoming a Patreon member because you will get a worksheet for each podcast episode. So it gives you a great starting point. I always like to do that because you never know if there's new listeners. And if there are, welcome to the family. So I do want to jump into this. My God, I think we have all been there, been there, done that, bought the shirt, don't recommend the trip. But people are going to believe whatever it is that they want to believe. The key here is for you to not go on a defend tour. I know you want to. I get it. That's a natural response. But this is a science-backed way of understanding that guilt and manipulation and going into that emotional freedom, which we've talked about multiple times. So let's say you set a boundary. Let's go into a couple examples. You have been available for everybody for the last 20 years, 50 years, 90 years, however old you are. You've been available that long. You come when you're asked to come. You never say no. These are the things that are going to be a big shock to people. We've talked about that multiple times. But this is what happens. Everyone isn't going to just accept it or even just get upset with you and keep it moving. They're going to go on this tour. It's like they hop on a bus and they're going to make you the bad guy. This is all your fault. I can't believe you would do that. You already know the manipulation script. I give it to you every week, but you are the bad guy. And then they go amongst themselves, like among town, and they do all of this stuff to make themselves look good and to make you be the bad guy. Here is where your confidence has got to come in. I understand that you want them to see your perspective. These are when people do this, when anyone is goes into a smear campaign against you, they will never see your perspective ever. It's just not going to happen. So the more you defend you're guilty, the less you defend that you're guilty. Your key here is to not engage. They will often, I won't say everybody, will go and, like I said, recruit people to make it look like you're the one in the wrong. They're going to have to believe what they want to believe. This is that key piece of to why you want to work on your attachments, your insecurity, your low self-esteem, your people pleasing. This is the foundational piece, or that's the foundational piece before you can get here. But I like for you to have this. So on this journey, you kind of know what it is that you're goaling towards or that you're striving for. Extremely important. And this is where when you go on that understand me tour, this is about anything. This is over explaining, which I have an entire podcast on. But if you're trying to make it make sense, it's not going to someone who is absolutely committed to misunderstanding you. It's just not going to happen. And I use this with my clients. I think I've used this here before. I'm going to do it again. Red paint theory, where that's me. I don't like fur. It's just my thing. But if I go stand outside of a furrier and I have a bucket of red paint and I'm going to throw that red paint on you when you walk out, I'm not serving a purpose. I look crazy. I look unstable. And any point I was going to try to make has now gone bye-bye. because they're not going to look at the person and be like, oh my God, she's so right. No, they're going to look and be like, damn, what happened there? So any point I was trying to prove is gone. So even though you're like, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. All of my short form videos go into this too. You've got to let go of the need to be understood. Uh, the right people and the people who are meant to be in your life, the people who align with you, will want to talk to you, want to hear what, well, what did happen? Want to sit there and understand your side of the story, so to speak. There's 3 sides, right? Yours, mine, and somewhere in the middle. But they have to want to do that. They have to be willing to communicate. Not everybody's willing to communicate. I mean, it seems like common sense. I have a problem with you or a problem with something or a situation. I'm going to say in a non-emotional tone, hey, a couple of things kind of went down and I don't know, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Can we carve out some time to just chat? Now, that being said, don't think everybody is on that same emotional maturity. Believe me, emotional immaturity is rampant. You're only going to find a small group of people who are going to have the emotional maturity. And those are the people who have taken accountability for themselves. They stop blaming people. They stop waiting for people to cheer them on or save them. They stop doing that. And they focus on understanding this is a long-term process. That's how you get emotional maturity. Everybody doesn't want the maturity, but they think they do. So it's really important that you understand that. Because over and over and over again, they're going to constantly get in a space to where even if they want to understand you, they're only going to want to understand you from their viewpoint that doesn't make them feel uncomfortable. And we're going to talk about that because just because you're uncomfortable does not mean that you're unsafe. So there is so much science behind this, so much psychology behind it that we talk about all the time. But your biggest key is to say, why do I feel the need to be understood? Now let's take it into a professional setting, not even just a personal setting, because a personal setting, that's where these boundaries come from. And honestly, even in a professional setting, you will, no, I don't want to say you will, because that's not guaranteed. There's a good chance that you'll have somebody who's jealous or they're insecure, they feel some kind of way. So they're going to try to smear you at work. Oh, believe me, they will try. Oh, well, this person and that person. And now you're in mediation. Now you're in the HR office and you're talking to the HR people. What you never do is get emotional in that conversation, because the moment that you engage with the emotional side of it, you've lost all credibility. When you are reacting, you've lost credibility. And they're going to believe what they believe. This is why we're talking in a professional setting. I mean, I guess in a personal setting too, but it really only really matters in a professional setting. Make sure everything's documented. I mean, don't be weird. Okay, I don't need you to be a little extra. But if it's a project that you're working on with someone, keep an email chain, keep a Slack chain, whatever it is that you got going on. Everything doesn't have to be in writing, but you want to make sure that as things come up, you want to make sure that people can see this as a paper trail. And the difficult part of that for you is I don't need you to become this person who is documenting everything, because you will make yourself a complete distant pariah at the office. So if it's, hey, let's use this in real time. I didn't even put this down to talk to you about. But let's say it's somebody and they said that you dropped the ball and they were waiting to get the work done, but it was your fault. But it really wasn't your fault. They never gave you the information. So if you go, well, that's not true. Like, she never gave me the information and da da da. Okay. Now we're getting into a he said, she said match. You do not respond out of this stuff emotionally. I understand. That's why I said this is down the road, because very often you're in a reactive mode. That's never going to serve your best and highest good anywhere in life. Anywhere in life. And that's where the emotional regulation comes in. At that point, you can say, okay, this is what happened. Fact-based. We are there for fact. When you do not react, that other person, 80 to 90% of the time, it's human behavior, they are going to get upset that you're not reacting, or that you're giving a fact that they hate the fact that you're giving it. And just watch. Remember, I told you this. This is a script that you will see. if this is something that you unfortunately get yourself into or, get into. You will watch this. They will go, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. You're lying. Da, da, da. Go ahead and let them sit there. Okay. That's not what happened. Here's what happened. Well, that's not true. Okay. You're going to give this to the boss or give this to your manager. And at that point, it may work in your favor. It may not. But what you don't do is you don't go on a defend tour, but you do keep receipts. So if you find that your manager or this coworker with you sends you or, tells you, hey, I need to get this done, and they say this verbally to you, follow that up in an email or a Slack or Meet or whatever you're doing. Follow that up. So you're in a meeting, you've made notes. This is what your responsibility is by Friday. Everybody goes, okay, cool. When you get back to the desk, you type up, hey, great. I think I understand exactly what you want from this project. Just want to let you know, I'm going to be able to do these things. I will check in with you throughout the week to let you know where I am on it. Just let me know that you receive it. Because now you're putting it back on them. Here's this. And listen, maybe that seems like too much for you, but you have choices here. You don't get to want it to not be toxic and then not put in a little bit of extra effort. So even if it's done verbally, follow that up in a text, follow that up in an email, something that is trackable. And if you're asking them for something, hey, Margie, this is where I am. I'm a little in a stall place. I just need to get blah, blah, blah from you. When do you think you can get that for me? To ask questions. When do you think you can get that to me? And if they see you in the lunchroom or meeting or whatever, hey, I'll get that to you Friday. Okay, hey, just drop that down in the email so I have reference to it. You got to keep receipts. Do not respond in a way. Well, respond, yes. Do not react in a way that you are trying to get understood, because this is going to be problematic in every area of your life. And they're going to try to manipulate you in your empathy too, to somehow or another make it to where you're apologizing for 90% of the things that you never even did. Because guilt, let's go back into the guilt. I have a whole podcast on that too, but I want to kind of touch on that just a little bit. So it's this self-conscious emotion, and it's triggered when you believe, when you believe that you violated a moral standard or harmed someone. This doesn't mean it's factual. This means this is how your brain comes in. So it does serve as a social function. It can, really kind of help you go, oh, wow, like what's happening here? It can encourage even a little bit of, empathy, have some good bonding in relationships. However, it can also create this thing where people understand this. So if they see that you're reactive, this is any part of your life, okay? If they see that you get reactive, even if they're saying to you or somebody else, well, it's usually going to be you first, what a terrible person you are. I can't believe you did this. Your typical manipulation script. But this is what's going to happen. They will continuously try to make you the bad guy. That's why we want to focus on the secure attachment, right? So by the way, this is all going to take some time. Secure attachment, self-esteem, no need to please people. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're pleasing everyone, you will never not neglect yourself, because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're not supposed to be. So if everybody likes you, then you got to ask yourself, why does everybody like me? I know that might seem weird to you, but that means that you're morphing into all of these things that they want you to be. Instead of focusing on you, we all have quirks. We all have these like weirdness to us. Don't apologize for it. Don't over-explain it. The right people are not going to make you the bad guy. The right aligned people, I don't care who you want in your life. It's who is engaging enough with you. So if someone says, you suck at this, well, whatever it is, you suck at this, or you're a bad person, or blah, 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 blah. They are committed to that. They are committed to that. You can have visual proof. You can have anything you want. But somehow or another, you're still the bad guy. And everybody wants other people to know that. So this person calls this person. That's also where triangulation and families can come from. but everybody wants them to know that it's you. I already told you, I'm going to let you win everything. You can say, I suck at everything I do. A, I know it's not true. So if I know it's not true, I don't really care if somebody else thinks that way because I make a big difference for clients. I have them from all over the world. I'm here for the people who are tired of their own shit. I don't care if someone else says, oh my God, you're way too assertive. Okay, well, okay. I mean, that's a true statement. I am assertive. Too assertive? No. So when you sit with that and you get confident as to who you are, you will not let that trigger you and you will not engage in it. And again, if they rope people in, say you're in a 5-person, 6-person friend group, whatever, and you know what? You really didn't do anything. It was this big misunderstanding. You tried to say, hey, I don't know what happened here. Like, can we chat? No, I'm not going to chat with you. You know you did wrong. Meanwhile, you're like, okay, well, what's happening here? I can't believe that you did that. You already know you did blah, blah, blah. You're not like, no, that's not what happened at all. They hang up the phone. They call all your other friends and they say, let me explain to you what happened. This is what happened. And she did this and they did this. If they care about what they want to evaluate within themselves to say, okay, let me make my own decisions, then they will reach out to you. Not trying to turn you against anybody. That is the point. You don't want to be turned against somebody. You want to find it out yourself, right? So if someone has a problem with a friend and they expect you to suddenly now distance from that friend because they have a problem with a friend, that's not a friend you want. That is not a friend you want. This isn't a struggle game. So very often is in friend groups, sometimes in friend groups or even in family, they want you to not like a person that they don't like. That is the biggest red flag. Run in the other direction. And I promise you, when you do that, you will be the person who's abandoning them. You're going to be the problem. And you never liked them in the first place. Again, script. This is script. So when you look at that emotional pain, it is equal to physical pain. Like it's not equal. Your brain responds to it the same way. So when you're in a place of going fairness and justice, so everybody has a sort of a different platform, a different thing. And a lot of people are reactive within fairness and justice, not just within society, just in general. That's not fair. Why would you say that? That's not fair. That's an untrue statement. I got to let the world know. Okay. So now let's say a couple of people go, oh, okay. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be like, damn, okay, a little unstable there, aren't you? You have to remember, if someone is committed to the misunderstanding, it will always remain. You are spinning this energy that you do not need, because the moment that you go into your boundaries and into these things, do not provide whys. Don't do that. Now, make it clear, right? Don't just, punish someone and you never told them what it is that, your requirements are. And also listen to their requirements. It's not one-sided. If this, then this. If this happens, then this is the consequence. And that's all you got to do. You don't need to go on the why. This is the consequence. And then that person can act accordingly. So now you've established it. That person tries to overstep it. You distance from them. You follow through with the consequence. Now you're the problem. Do not go around town talking about, well, I told them and blah, blah, blah. No, you can just say, well, that's their opinion because I established a boundary, period. You have to remember, you don't have to give extra information. It's kind of like if you write a sentence in English, you write a paragraph, you could technically remove a lot of those words because they're filler words. It's the same thing. So you have this negative enforcement loop where your brain learns that setting boundaries equals pain, so then it avoids it. So if it's set a boundary, they guilt you, you feel discomfort, you fold. Guilt is gone, loop reinforced. So see, this is a loop. So when they're trying to smear you, or they're trying to make you be the bad guy, and you're not quite at that place yet, you realize, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this. First of all, that's not true. I don't want to feel like you're making me out to be a bad guy. This is just too much. Because by the way, you've tried to set a boundary. And now you've set that boundary and they start guilting you and you go, oh my God, that's not true. And you go off on this tangent. You're feeling uncomfortable from that guilt because a person can only guilt and shame you to the level in which you allow it. So you got to, there's nuances well before that has to happen. Dealing with your past, walking into your own security. Like, we understand, but I want to let you know what you're going towards. Because the moment you feel discomfort, you go, whoa, I don't like this. Then your guilt is gone. You're like, okay, cool. But then that loop gets reinforced. Who's frustrated behind that? You are. That you folded to them. Why would they be upset? You are the only one that suffers from that. Only one. Because you're the one thinking about it at 2 a.m. You're the one that's not true. I need to let everybody know. Don't engage in the smear campaign. Think about somebody in the public eye. I don't know. I don't want to bring out anybody specific because then it's going to be like their business. But let's say it's a celebrity or it's a person within let's say it's a celebrity and they have a marital issue. They're going to get divorced. First of all, it's nobody's business, but okay, they're a public figure. And now you look at this, the husband or the spouse or whomever says how terrible that person was. They did this, they did that, they did this. Well, if you're on the other end, we're on the other end. If you're tuning into TMZ, all you're seeing is one side, maybe two, and then you're left to figure it out yourself. Now, a little different. We can't just pick up the phone and all of a sudden call Ryan Gosling and we're asking him questions. Of course not. But my point to that is you're seeing it from how they want to see it, but you don't hear the other side of the story. You're not entitled to it. See, that's the other thing. People feel entitled to things that you're not entitled to. But now you look at that and you've already formulated an opinion based on what you've seen. Doesn't make it true, but it's what's being reported. And I mean, that's this, that's this walking tightrope line. I mean, how many people have you seen, let's say in the public eye, people try to drag them for whatever reason, try to drag them and they never make a comment. They just keep going with with their lives. They keep recording things. They keep filming things, whatever. And everybody's like, oh, you don't have anything to say. Yeah. But guess what happens? Those people don't matter. Those people who go, oh, this is what they get and blah, blah, those people do not matter. The value of those people, they still have value, but they don't have to have value to you. And pay attention. After a while, it does go by the wayside. And a person is going to have their mindset as to what it is for the rest of their life. But if you're wondering why sometimes people don't, quote unquote, defend themselves, because they don't have to. They don't need that, because now you're feeding the narrative and people will, go back. Next thing you know, you're doing this, you're defending yourself for the next 12 years. Why are you doing that? So you got to be careful, because that guilt loop is going to hijack what your brain is doing. Why do you feel like the bad guy? Well, manipulators and people who are like heavily insecure within themselves, they're going to use guilt tripping words like you've changed, or, oh, now suddenly you're doing that. Now suddenly you have that. You're selfish now. Hey, Melissa, you see this? She's so selfish. I can't believe how selfish she's been. This is what happened. And of course, they're going to give the account from their perspective, right? Because it can't be, hey, you know what, Melissa, such and such set a boundary and it's very uncomfortable for me because I feel a little offended. Like, I don't, right. That's maturity. Talk to somebody. Tell them, hey, I feel a little uncomfortable. Not, this is this person's fault. So they're going to use phrases like you're selfish or after all I've done for you. They're going to trigger that response, because now they're going to say, after all I've done for you, you're going to hold that boundary. Now they're going to go around town and within the family and talk about how much they've done for you and how ungrateful you are. Smear campaign. What you're not going to do is you're not going to go on this thing and call everybody. She just calls that, well, but this is what she's doing. No. And if someone reaches out to you, don't badmouth her or whomever saying it. Don't badmouth them. Just state your facts. State your facts. Now, remember, feelings aren't facts. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. But if someone actually does take the time and has the emotional maturity to reach out to you And so like, what happened? Well, obviously, if that person was around you, you can say, well, when such and such happened, this is what I did. This is what I said. And I don't think that it was received well. Not, she doesn't know how to take it. No, I don't think it was received well. However, this is what you follow that up with. However, I'm not going to engage in it. I know my truth. Now it's up to that person to decide, do they believe you or not up to you to force them to believe you. Because that discomfort is going to be there in the beginning. If you think suddenly you're going to go through your healing and one day you're just going to wake up and I can do this without any kind of feeling discomfort, that's never going to happen. Never. I don't even like to use always and never, but this is the time to use it. It will never happen that you are just instantly going to feel comfortable and then do it. That's the mistake. People are like, well, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready. Well, guess what? You're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. I just need to be more prepared. Nope, that's an excuse you're telling yourself. That's called avoidance. Now you're gaslighting yourself to tell yourself that you need to avoid something. We're not going to do that. So you can evaluate where you are in your healing based on A, how you can communicate it instead of avoiding it, and also not engaging with people who will only ever see it from their perspective. So if you feel that you have this emotional obligation, very often, now listen, are you going to be punished for it? Often. Maybe you're ostracized from the family. Maybe you're cut off. Maybe those things are going to happen. That's okay. That's perfectly okay. Because if not, if someone cuts you off, now listen, there's a gray area there, right? If you see someone's boundaries are rooted in insecurities, well, yeah. I mean, at that point, you are going to kind of like cut them off. Like it's going to be a thing. But you have to remember these people in your life, if they are truly in alignment with you and they truly want a relationship to work, they're going to have the difficult conversations. You guys aren't always going to get along. I mean, there's always going to be misunderstandings and things like that. Emotional maturity says, hey, let's sit down. Let me see your perspective. People don't want to see other people's perspective. They want to see their own. Insecurity, anxiousness, need to be right, ego. Oh my God, that's the whole thing is based in ego. A smear campaign is always, and here's an always, based in ego. Go back. I'm an ego specialist. Go back to millions of my podcasts. And if you're my clients, you guys already know this, that the ego is a massive problem for you. Massive. So it's not about ignoring it or avoiding the ego. It's about walking with the ego. But when you're seeing this, understand that's that person's thing. Now, check yourself. Check yourself. Are you having conversations with people who you're like, hey, man, I feel some kind of way. Like, okay, let's have a talk. And if they don't have a talk, are you going around trying to smear people? Don't do that. Check yourself. Because sometimes we think it's everybody else and sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's both. So we need to shift that mindset that says, I have to defend. I have to defend. Here's the number one shift. Discomfort is not danger. I mean, the discomfort, you can be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean danger. I'm uncomfortable with this talk. Now, if we're talking about abusive behavior and people who can potentially be abusive, that's a whole thing that we need to address. Not run from it. Obviously, we don't want to walk into the lion's den, but we want to work on how we can get out of that, how we can distance from that. So when I say discomfort, it's, oh, I don't want somebody to feel sad. You're not responsible for their feelings. Let them feel sad. Let them feel upset. Let them feel whatever it is that they're going to feel. You're not responsible for how they feel with whatever your boundary is. Stop. And before you say to yourself, yes, let them, that you can let them all day long. You can read her book. You can get the tattoos. I don't care how many times you say let them. Until you're ready to be uncomfortable with letting them, you're not letting them at all. You just look cute reading the book. You look cute in the sweatshirt. Woo, I went to see her tour. Love that. I love that she's using her platform for that. The issue is, are you going there? Are you getting these let them things because this is going to tell you, yes, I can let them? Are you looking at it just because it feels good? I know the intention is to absolutely let them. But you might not be in an emotional space right now to let them. So by saying, I'm going to let them do this, let them do that, let them do this, you might not be in a place to where you can accept that. And that's where you got to say, let me stop and say, am I letting them from a non-reactive place, or am I letting them because I'm avoiding it? It's a big thing. I mean, listen, the let them theory is fantastic. It's not new. She didn't create it. It's stoicism. Stoicism has been around since the Stone Age. Being stoic. Essentially, let them is stoicism. But I love it because she put it into a perspective of to where people can understand it a little bit more than saying stoicism. And now we're talking about philosophy, and that can glass people's eyes over and they're never going to respond to it. But if you're asking yourself, am I letting them? Then that means let them smear you. Are you ready to do that? You don't get to let them selectively. So if you're going to do the let me let them, that means across the board. You don't get to let them in this position and not here. So until you're ready to be consistent with let them, you're not letting anybody do anything. Let them talk about you. You doing that? Are you doing that? It's different. You can say, oh, let them not show up. Okay, my feelings are hurt, but I can let them. But that's across the board. So when you're thinking a let them theory, you got to check yourself and say, am I committed? Because that's another thing. Am I committed to letting them in all areas of my life? You might not. You might say yes, but make sure you're walking the walk, that you're talking the talk, because that's a big issue. And you don't let them from I'm upset and I'm going to let them in. That's not letting them. That's convincing yourself. So if you're going to use the let them theory, get real clear that while it is very motivational and it is very inspirational, you have to utilize it. You have to make it fit in every area. That's the problem that people have with healing in general. So like I said, somebody doesn't show up to dinner, somebody doesn't want to call you, somebody doesn't want to hang out with you. Okay, let them. Yay, I can do that. Now these people are talking mad smack. These people are running through the family saying that. Are you going to have the same follow up with that? Because it's across the board. Stoicism, let them, is across the board. You don't get to pick and choose. So you might not be really using the theory, but you might know the theory. So let them, use stoicism, use emotional maturity, use these things as a North Star, right? The North Stars, you want those because then you can go towards them. Your problem, your biggest problem, is rushing things, trying to make it faster, trying to hurry it up, trying to do it in your way. Well, I can let them here. I can't let them here. I don't want to do this. I can do this because it's comfortable. I don't want to do this because it's uncomfortable. No. I've told you before, and I'll say it again. People stop their healing journey because they want it to be fast. They want it to be on their terms. They want to say, okay, I've committed a year to this and I think I'm good now. You're not good now. You just don't want to admit that, because the things that you have to do on this journey of healing is get uncomfortable. Get alone sometimes. Sometimes you got to clear house and you got to start from scratch. You got to start from scratch. That's where you are. And that piece of it is going to be pivotal on this journey. It isn't just a straight shot either. You're going to go forward, you're going to go backwards. What I do with my weekly clients, I think I've said this to you before, I have clients who come, as needed, and then I have weekly clients. Those are the clients who have access to me on text. And I keep my phone on silent at all times. And I love it as a running journal. Like, still journal in the 5 journals. Go get them now. It's good for you. But I like to see it in real time. So if I'm meeting with you every Tuesday, and that Tuesday you tell me how your week was and how Sunday you did this and Wednesday you did this, I'm seeing that after the fact. I want to see it when you're spinning out. I want to see it when you have all the tools and you're super confident. That's right. I'm confident. I feel empowered. And something happens and it goes right out the window, because that's a natural thing when you don't have a habit of doing it. So they have access to me because what I liked, and I don't always have to respond. I look at it. Sometimes I will if they're in a total spin out. But I love it because then when we talk, and sometimes people even forget, damn, that's right, that was really problematic. I need to see it as pattern recognition. So if you're weekly with me, you have access to me. And then on that Tuesday, I can see dated times what happened. And then that's something that we can, go into. That's the thing. Those are discomfort. Yeah, that's discomfort. That's, oh my God, I should know these things. I had the tools, blah, blah, blah. That it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Boundaries are maintenance, not meanness. Listen to that. Boundaries are maintenance, not meanness. So you're going to be mean. You're the mean one. And then their story about you is not your responsibility. This one is your ego. This one is your insecurity. This one is your people pleasing. This one is the danger to your identity. Their story about you is not your responsibility. Like I was saying earlier, at work, try to keep a running thing, make sure things are in writing. So even if somebody feels some kind of way, the facts are here. You want that. It's just how it is. I've told you before. If you grab a electric fence that tells you a million times in a million different signs, hey, danger, you touch me, you're going to get executed. And now you not executed. Good God. Hopefully you're not dealing with a fence that's going to execute you. Goodness, but electrocute you. And then you're mad because now you tell your friend, oh my God, I was at such and such and I grabbed that fence and that's a stupid fence. Oh my God. See, I was say electrocuted you. Well, yeah, electrocute, not execute. And now suddenly you're mad at the fence and you're telling everybody it's the fence's problem. No, it isn't. Of course it isn't. It's not the fence's issue. It's the fact that you just did whatever you wanted to do and then you got mad that it didn't work in your favor. Those are the things that you have to realize you're going to run into with people. After a while, people are going to see it. I promise you. People who are committed to not seeing it, but people who are committed to seeing it will eventually see where you are anyway. They're going to see the situation for what it is. You ever have that person who's constantly negative, constantly, it's everybody else, right? This person did this person did that. After a while, it's like the boy who cried wolf. They're like, oh God, here she comes again. Yep. Oh, can you believe Melissa? I know. That person is going to expose themselves without you having to expose them. It will come out. And if somebody is committed to only seeing their side ever, what the hell do you want that relationship for? Doesn't matter. Somebody says, oh, this, that, and the third, you've changed. Yes, you are correct. I did change. That's growth. You're right. I did change. I'm gonna hit you with yep on a regular basis. I can't believe assuming I feel like I didn't do anything. Obviously, if I did something, I should take accountability for it. But let's say I didn't. Your people are just running your mouth. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Well, but it's true. Okay. It's like, okay. It's this thing that you have to remember. People want this engagement. If honoring myself upsets you, I trust you'll find a way to process that. If honoring myself upsets you, I trust you'll find a way to process that. Because they're not just going to be like, oh, you're right. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no. You're going to have the people that are going to try to shut you down. They're going to move the goalpost. Be prepared for that. And, I'll get this a lot, even sometimes in Patreon or mostly on like short form comments. Well, what if it's my mom? What if it's my adult child? What if it's this? I don't care who it is. What do you think? They get some special privilege? Your boundary is equivalent across the board. You're not doing it individually. If you're doing it individually, it's not a boundary at all. That's very, very important for you. You got to realize that you matter. You are important, and not everybody is going to like that. This whole journey, not everybody's going to like that. It was funny. I want to say it wasn't a client. Oh, they became a client, but they didn't start off as a client. They were like on a short form. And they said to me, oh, I think it might have been one of my lives. And they said to me, and they laughed, they said, my husband, it just happened to be a woman, by the way. This isn't going all men this. No, it just happened to be that way. My husband hates when you come on. He hates when you come on. He thinks that you're stupid and you're angry and you're this, that, and the third. And she said, and he's mad because I use the scripts that you tell me and he hates it. Of course he does. And then she became a client and we're doing great. And he is no longer a husband. So always know that when people give you tools to do better, to feel better, to be the person that you want to be, when people give you the tools, other people don't like that because it exposes their control. It exposes that. You're always going to be the bad guy to people who don't want to look in the mirror. When people smear, it is always about them. It is never about you. It's always about them. I'm not available to feel guilty for doing what keeps me mentally healthy. Hear that. I'm not available to feel guilty for doing what keeps me mentally healthy. Because that's what they're trying to do. And then they're going to try to recruit people to do the exact same thing. You may see me as the bad guy. I see myself as someone healing. Listen to that. You might see me as the bad guy. I see me as someone healing. Boom. And then disengage. These people are not just going to be like, you know what? So cool. No, they can talk to an empty space. To quote Taylor, I got a blank space, baby. I'll write your name there. And then you can sit there and talk to yourself. And if they feel so insecure that they have to run and recruit everybody else, and those people actually get recruited, they ain't your people. They're doing you a solid. Much like ghosting. When somebody ghosts you, they're doing you a favor. When somebody recruits people on a smear, they're doing you a favor. Because the people who ghost you have proven countless times that they don't know how to, have an adult conversation. They don't know how to have, I don't know, communication, conflict, whatever you want to call it. They're demonstrating that to you by ghosting you. They're doing you a favor. My God, you don't want to be, knee deep into this relationship or friendship. And then suddenly you're like, what is happening here? This person never, I can never have a conversation with them. Good. They did you a favor. The people who have recruited people in the smear, it's great. That's a magnifying glass that says, don't spend energy on these people. I don't care if they're your siblings, your parent, your best friends for 43 years. Don't try to make excuses for things that you see in your face. That's a big issue because you want so much for them to be different. You want so much for it to be better after, if they would just do this, if they would do that, if they would understand you. Because I'm going to tell you, the more that you go on this defend tour, you'll be doing that with these people for the rest of your life. But now I go back to this. Let's pull Mel into this. Are you letting them, or are you thinking you are letting them, or are you letting them out of emotion? Are you doing that? Let's go into the stoicism. I'm going to call it stoicism, but you'll know it as let them theory, but it's stoicism. Or historically, it's stoicism. Are you willing to accept that across the board, or are you trying to do it individually? Then you might as well not even read the book. Don't even bother, because you're going to look at it in a selective space. It empowers you in places that you like, yeah, I can do that. But it empowers you more in places that you're refusing to accept it. Then you're just saying words. Just because you say it doesn't mean you're doing it. Just because you get a tattoo or a sweatshirt and you read books about it doesn't mean you're doing it. Walk the walk that you're talking. If you're going to talk the talk, are you walking the walk? And are you doing it consistently? When you stop explaining yourself, people are going to call you selfish. When you stop apologizing, they're going to call you cold. But what they're really saying is you're no longer letting me control you. It goes right back into that. So you got to know that this is a place that you want to get to. Don't think you're going to get my podcast or her book and suddenly there's the answers. Hell no. It is the beacon. It is the light to let you know the North Star of where you want to go, but you don't stop rushing. That's the biggest problem with why people stop their healing, stop their coaching, stop their therapy, stop their medication, because they feel this, I got this. You don't got this. You don't got this. Why? Because it's boring? Good. It's got to be boring because that's how we create habits. That's how we rewire the brain. Everything isn't going to be fast. Are you committed to that? And until then, you are going to be activated. I think you need to be aware of that. You will be activated. You will go through some of those things and some of those feelings. You will be reactive. And that's a sign. Why am I reactive? What does my ego want? Why do I have to be right? Why do I have to have the last word? Ego. But why? Where does that stem from? And that's what you work on. You're over here too worried about, look at me, I'm empowered and all that stuff, which is fabulous, but you're lying to yourself. You're gaslighting yourself to say, this is where I am. You're not there yet. You might be there in some ways. Use this as a North Star, because at the end of the day, the only way that you're going to get there is by dealing with your own stuff. Understanding it's going to take some time, much time. So it's working on getting you to the place, not where you feel ready, but to where you say to yourself, I'm pushing myself into this discomfort. And I'll just be sad that I lost this relationship, but I'm going to keep it moving. I know it's the best thing for me. So be the bad guy. Often when you're the bad guy, that also lets you know that you're doing a good job with your boundaries and you're expanding out into yourself. Don't get reactive. The true people and true situations that really are valuable to you are going to be the ones that go, okay, let me have a talk with her. It's important because you don't have to worry about what they see in you. Look in the mirror. That's the person and the only person that you need to have a full understanding of. And then it's setting that out, setting that energy out, putting that out into the universe that says, this is my alignment. This is my vibration. Build it and they will come. The they isn't always the people that you want it to be. And sometimes when people are saying things and smearing you, that is a massive sign, a big old spotlight that says these people are not for you and they're doing you a solid favor by trying to make you the bad guy.